Your mic is muted, dude.
Cool. Okay. We've got 16 on. Hello, everybody.
About the slight delay there, we're having a few technical issues. This is the first time we've ever done anything like this, so please bear with us if there's any issues. Hopefully you can see the chat. There's a Q&A section that we've exposed using this system. If you can view that, that's great, and add any questions. If you can't hear one of us, or you want us to cover something else, please add that in there, and whoever's not speaking, we'll keep checking that. If you can't have, and I see someone's already added a question, if you can't get access to this system, or you're having technical issues, please do not worry. We will be releasing this video and all the slides and all the information on Facebook tomorrow, so you'll get access to it, and we'll email it to every one of our members. But in the meantime, welcome. I'm just going to review. There's one question, so just to make sure, Rick, do you want to have a look at that question that's come in and the Q&A? We'll just make sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't actually see the Q&As from my screen. I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Look, yeah, I can see it. Rick, are you there? Rick, I've sent you a message. Rick, are you there? There we go. Yes, he's here.
Yes, hello.
Okay, all right. So let's make a start then. And John, I presume that's John Campbell's message. Have you spoken yet? Yes, we are speaking. So yes, I'm going to reply to that. Okay. All right. So let's start going through. So first of all, welcome. Like I said, this is the first time we've ever run anything like this live, so I apologise about all the technical hitches. Everyone is on mute, so this is done as like a live stream. If you've used Facebook Live or anything like that, this is a live stream where you can actually rewind and pause. If you want to see my beautiful face and pause, you can do that if you really like. But basically, if there's any questions, just please post them in the chat, and we will cover those. Okay. All right, so the agenda we're going to cover tonight, if you could next slide, please, Rick.
Yeah, just bear with, caller. There we go. Keyboards everywhere.
Yeah. First of all, we're going to go through the welcome, then we're going to go through the financial review. We're going to cover the review of 2019 and 20, see what we did last year. And then the important bit is we're going to go in for our plans for 2021, especially with the, of course, the issues with COVID and how we're going to move forward with the club. We're going through the committee roles. There's 3 roles that have been filled in the last few weeks. And we've got our sponsors and offers. We'd like to re-go through those and advertise what currently as a member you get benefit of. We'll quickly go into the new kit. A lot of you saw the new kit, but there's some of you haven't, and so we'll quickly cover that. We have a brief overview of our road safety campaign that's been worked on in the background. There's another committee that have been heading that up and doing a fantastic job, so we'll cover that. And then we'll finish off with any Q&A and any questions that come up in the chat section. So like I say, we'll keep an eye on those, and we'll come at those at the end. And then finally, we'll wrap up and close. Next slide, please, Rick. So I'm going to hand over to Rick, and Rick's going to go through our financial year and our review of 2019.
Okay, right, there we go. Just swap that over. It's good fun trying this new software out. Anyway, hello, good evening, everyone. Thanks for calling in. Yes, so we'll crack on with the financial review. Hopefully you've had a chance to see in the pre-read the full financial situation, and we've got on screen here a summary of 2019 and 20. There's lots of information on there. It's more of a graphic, so you can have a look to see what sort of things come in and come out. I'm not going to go through each of those lines one by one. You'll be pleased to hear. But what I will do is just talk about some of the key points for the AGM. So essentially, kind of looking back into last year's accounts, our income that came in was 32,341. and the outgoings was 23,970. So overall, we actually made a profit last year in the club of £8,371. So that's obviously a good position to be in for a club of our size. Together, we also raised and donated £3,500 to our two charities, which were MK SNAP and the Spinal Injuries Association. So I'd like to thank everyone who was able to donate and give some money there to those charities. It's just amazing, and it was brilliant when we went and handed over those checks at Christmas as well. So also within there, those numbers are quite big, 32,000, etc. And a lot of that comes from the events which we put on. So, if we're going to do an away trip, then people will pay for the trip, and then we will pay that off with the suppliers, etc. So that's why those numbers are quite high. But all the ride events and our social events, we try to run those at break-even cost. So we don't look to make any money out of those. And if there is any money that is made, we'll have the choice of either donating that to charity or just investing that into the next event that comes along. So that's kind of how that bit's run. The main income, so the money that actually comes in where we can generate some money from, is both the sponsorship fees, and last year we had our 3 sponsors, Trek, Caldwell and BG Bikes, and also the membership comes in as well. So the membership comes in at roughly brings in about £8,000 for the year. And then the other bits in there really is our operating costs. So to run BCG for a year is approximately £1,800 operating cost, and that's kind of includes things like our insurances, our affiliations to British Cycling, website fees, and all sorts of other bits and pieces like that. So that's kind of a quick overview really of where we're at looking back. And then looking forward really, as most of you know now, that we took that decision back in March and April time due to COVID to offer free membership this year, which listening to what the riders had to say, it was definitely the right decision to make. But I just want to clarify that in the finances for you, just to make sure that you're comfortable that we are okay in that situation for this year. So as I mentioned before, last year we made a profit of 8,371, and the loss of income from membership fees is approximately £8,000. So almost balance each other out like for like, and that's how we've been able to kind of finance that loss this year. So we are expecting this year to also have to dip into our saved funds as well to keep going. We're not quite sure just yet, but we need to be really careful on the purse strings for this year and be really mindful of what we spend our money on. So we are expected to come in at a loss this year, but actually it's for really good reason, and the free membership will be the reason for that. But we're okay. We've got money in the bank that will cover that, and we're at no risk financially at the moment for the club. So from a finance position, we are in a strong place, and we're quite comfortable as a committee that the numbers have been verified and they've been checked. And you've got a copy of that document in the AGM papers that have been emailed to you or available on the updates we've sent through. Okay, so any questions, again, put those in and we'll try and answer those for you. We've got a big Q&A session at the end, so we can come back and have a look at those for you then. Okay, so I'm going to hand over now to Gary, who's going to look back for last year and just pull out some of the really great stuff that we've managed to achieve last year. Okay, Gary.
Brilliant. All right, thank you very much, Rick, for covering that. If you go to the next slide, please. Brilliant. So the next thing we're going to cover is some of the great achievements we made in the last year. I know it seems a million miles away, but yes, we'd like to cover what we've done, cover how our membership base is looking, and then I'll hand back over to Rick, who'll go over the future of the club and where we are going in 2021. So first of all, I've also, as you've been noticing, I've been responding to your questions. So whoever's not talking will be responding to the questions. Any more that come in, please just put them in. If they are relation to the entire club, I will publish those so that everyone can see a copy of that. Otherwise, it just comes through as a private message that only Rick and I will see until I choose to publish it. Okay, so member stats. The charts here show our member numbers and our Facebook followers and our meetup numbers, how they've grown over the previous years. So an example there, you can see April over the last few years, how our BCG members have grown. And you can see this year, we've not had the slump that we normally have. This is for April times. You will see that we've not had the usual slump in BCG members than we normally do. And that's because, of course, in April, we decided to make membership free. And so we processed everyone that was already a member back into there. So there was no renewal having to be done. You'll also you'll notice that the meetup has had a big dip. Basically, we've been spending time in this lockdown trying to clean up our membership base. There was a lot of meetup members on there that weren't actually using our club for the last 6 months. So we sent them a polite message and asked them to rejoin if they needed to. Otherwise, they were culled off of that group, so that we made sure that it was only real riders that were using that group. And then Facebook followers, we've always had a steady flow in. You'll notice we set up this year, we set up the Facebook news group, and that was because we've got a sheer volume of followers. We were finding that if you posted a post, of course, it would get lost within a few hours of other posts. So the idea was to set up this separate news group so that important announcements could be separated from, of course, all the photos and great information that you guys are posting. So moving on, one of the important things that we're very proud of is our male to female ratio. Anne Shrimpton has been working hard with Flourish and some of the other projects her and her team have had to encourage more women into our group, into a sport that unfortunately is male dominated. And she's done a fantastic job. I mean, the goal of British cycling was to get more women into the sport and to make it more equal. And our target was to get to 33%, which was the British cycling target. And I'd like to do a big round of applause for Anne and her team as we've got to that 33% as of this year. So it'd be fantastic to get that up even further. It's brilliant to have such an equal footing, and great work. So let's review how we've been going and what we've done. Of course, we've done a lot for charity over 2020 and 2019. We had the Sportive, we had Catherine's Macmillan coffee mornings. We had other events that you guys hosted, like the Christmas do and the quiz nights, and we managed to raise a massive 3,500 jointly, which is fantastic. We had our BCG Sportive and Fun Day. That was an amazing event as always, and it had a brilliant following and turnout. Unfortunately, of course, we couldn't do that this year, but it was great to see our virtual tour. So many of you take that in and do some amazing achievements. So again, we managed to raise a massive amount this year as well, which we'll cover later on. Flourish, again, doing really fantastic. We managed to get so many people in, to the point that poor Anne and her team had to turn away people because they were getting inundated with requests to join. So hopefully we can carry that on. Hopefully we can get more people involved with that and get more people into this sport that we really enjoy. We've had the gravel ride, so thank you to Chris Ford and Gavin Vanner and Andrew Jenkins for setting up this category and furthering that. We've had brilliant feedback on those rides. We've been doing away trips, of course. We had the Amsterdam, we had the Isle of Wight, we had Paris, we had Lanzarote. Every month last year there seemed to be a different away trip, and that's something you guys really enjoy, and it's great. You guys then organise it and arrange it and sort it out, and it's been fantastic. More social events, we had the pub nights, so we were managing to have pretty much every month a pub night. So we'd like to see when the club comes back, and of course when the COVID issues are all over, we'd like to restart that again and get that back into roll and get more sociable, because that's kind of the core of BCG. Then we had our awards night. Unfortunately, again, that was another cancellation of this year, but last year our awards night was a big success. We had a lot of positive feedback from that. So again, once everything's back to normal, we'd like to carry on with those. And then ride events. I mean, you guys have done so many massive achievements. We've got the Chase the Sun. I was really good to see a lot of you, like John and Gary and a few others went out last weekend and did Chase the Sun locally. And Nick, well, massive congrats on doing that, especially in this climate and the heat last weekend. You did amazingly well. And then last year we had Chase the Sun. Many of you did the northern one that was opened and the southern one. So really well done on that. The Ride 100, again, you guys all took part in that. Revolve, that was an amazing experience. I highly recommend Revolve. I believe, again, of course, this year's been postponed, so next year it'll be going ahead, and I highly recommend getting involved with that. If you want to know more information, please reach out to Nick and Gary Pearson. They can tell you more information on that. The Red Bull time lapse, that's one I'd probably never recommend you guys ever do in a million years. It was the rainiest, muddiest weekend ever, the coldest, wettest weekend ever, in a tent in the middle of a field, racing 25 hours with no sleep. So yeah, I'd probably not recommend doing that one, but for the people that were involved, massive kudos for actually getting through that in one piece. And so many other sporties we've done, and of course the BCG Rockets doing, and the Sprockets doing the cyclone events. It's just every month there's a different event going on. You guys do amazing achievements. So again, we've had over 900 meetups hosted. We've had our biker down and a close pass operation going. We did our Halloween rides, our superhero rides. We had our Share Road campaign launched. And one of the big achievements, I know for Rick, and Rick can really talk about this, was our Remembrance Day parade. I think that's one big memory I always have of seeing us all turn up in our red, white and blue and kind of stand and represent, the BCG for the in Cranfield. And then, of course, massive kudos to Adam and his team of testers for releasing the BCG iOS app. I think we're the only club, well, the only club definitely in Buckinghamshire, I don't know wider there, but to have their own iOS app. So again, thank you, Adam, for furthering that. But what about you? So if you can move to the next slide, please, Rick. So it would be great to hear. Of course, we run a newsletter and we also have a blog. So if there's any achievements you guys have had, what was your best ride? What was your new friendships you made? How was your longest ride? What was your fastest ride? The best event? If you have any information, if you want to write some information for us or let us know, please send that through to the club, and we'll get that published as a blog or put that in the newsletter. We'd really like to get that information out there to encourage new riders and encourage other people to do that too. So I'm going to hand back now to Rick. Rick's going to cover the plans for 20 and 21.
Okay, yes, thank you. As you can imagine, it's been a really interesting year for us already. Obviously we've had the COVID situation crop up. Now, we hadn't planned for that to happen, surprisingly enough, but boy, did it have a huge impact on what our plans were and what we wanted to do. As we know, I think listening to riders is a real quality and a strength of BCG, and always has been, and we try to do what our riders want. That's how we've been so successful over the years. And I think, when we made the decision to make it free membership because of the COVID situation, it felt so good inside that we had actually made that right decision for everybody. So it was, quite pleased that we actually did that. Even in that, there's some great stories that even come from there. There's like 49 riders requested for that membership fee that they had paid not to be refunded and instead to be donated to charity or used back in the club funds. So it was a real interesting time back then. But BCG being BCG, there is no way we're going to get that to stop us moving forward. So we kind of stopped, regrouped, chatted to a few more people, and we got together with Fran, Rob and Warren, and we really focused on what we could do on the virtual riding scene. So what can we do in the world of Zwift? Was there anything else that we could do as well? So, Zwift was commonly known what people use, but also we found there was an app called RGT where you could upload your own courses as well. So we looked into that. And they kind of run in really well, and those that are involved in there, it seems to be getting better and better. And I think, now the good weather's come, a lot more people will go out on the roads, but and I think this will really come back in its own during the winter time as well. So it's brilliant steps there in the world of getting that social riding. And the great stuff around it is we use the Discord app so that we can chat to each other. So it does get the feel of a group ride in a virtual world. So love it, absolutely love it. So thanks, Fran, Rob and Warren, for really championing in that and getting that up and running. We've also looked at virtual spin classes, and we hooked up with a spin instructor, Neil, who's been able to put on bespoke special classes virtually for us on a variety of different platforms. Take-up's not been as what we thought it might be, so there's going to be some changes in that. We're still going to be offering the rides, but they might not be bespoke to BCG. It might be that you just jump on his normal rides that he produces out through his company anyway. But again, something else we wanted to try just to give a little bit more variety. Then we move on, of course, to the absolutely amazing BCG Pick and Mix tour. So, we was thinking, like, this year we can't hold our normal big fundraiser sportif, which is the highlight of our calendar. So what could we do instead? And I think, again, a brainchild of, the same sort of people. We've had Fran, Rob, Warren, Gary Pearson, Gary, myself. We've had Anne and Jim involved as well, holding virtual ride leads for us. And we managed to create this super 4-day event where, you can pick a mix. You can almost do what you want to do to be part of this. And I think the success of that shone through. It really helped me personally achieve and push for more. And in fact, I've done 100 mile on the turbo bike, which is a distance I've not done for 5 years. So really pleased with some of the achievements personally that we saw and the photos that were coming through. And of course, money's still coming in actually for charity, but we're probably well over £2,600 that's been raised just through that alone. So that's a great success in my eyes already. The share campaign will continue through this year. Again, it slowed down as with most things, but we have been able to make some progress. And a bit later on, we've got some slides just to talk that through. And where we're at the moment is we are literally following that government guidance and advice, and also the British cycling advice as well, and looking at when we can start getting back and doing more as a club. So when we can start doing more, we'll be obviously looking at the group ride situation. We'll look to get the social events up and running again. Some we might be able to do virtually, and some where we can get together now that the pubs are starting to reopen. That might bring that option back into play as well. Flourish potentially may be able to restart, and potentially any away trips or weekends away. We might be able to get to a situation later in the year when we'll be able to put those on again too. So there's things on the horizon, things that we want to do that have been kind of stopped, and we'll just play it by ear as to what we can do and when we can do these things throughout the rest of the year, and obviously going into next year too. And finally on the slide there, the Captain's Awards. This was an idea of Fran, how can we inject a bit of fun and competition, there's a few people who have received one of these awards and some prizes already, and we'll continue using those as well through the club. Okay, so the big thing there is about our group rides being restarted. So this is the big news at the moment. Hopefully some of you tuned in even just to hear this section. So I just want to give you a bit of an overview. So last week we got the notification, as many of you have already seen, that British Cycling has said we can now start leading group rides again for up to 6 people. Now, some people have only just read that as the headline news there, but actually the pack and guidance that come out was quite meaty, like 30 pages of stuff we had to go through as a committee and look at everything in detail to see how that affects the club and what our position is. So the nutshell one-liner from British Cycling is you can ride up to 6 people together, providing you stick to 2-meter distancing and you have the appropriate hygiene protocols in place. This week we held an emergency committee meeting to discuss this and try and get to a position of whether we feel we are ready as a club to start leading rides again. So first off, we needed to be sure and comfortable that we were safe and everyone on our riders were safe to start group rides. We reviewed how safe and practical it is to ride 2 meters apart with a group of 6. We also asked the ride leaders for their views, how many would be interested in starting leading again at the moment, and did they fully understand, all the ins and outs of that decision. We looked at the health and safety implications as well, and especially if someone has an accident, how can you administer first aid? And then we looked at the availability of rides and the number of places that would be available should we switch back on. So the next few slides, I'm just going to get into a bit more detail there so you can just understand the thinking that we've been through to get to the decision that we make at the end here. Okay, so group riding 2 meters apart. I kind of put in here some graphics. Hopefully you can see those just to try and demonstrate what it would be like as a group of 6 and the amount of room it takes up on the road. So the first graphic there is if you were riding 2 abreast. You're probably about the length of 2 spaced out cars. But the issue here is to be 2 meters apart widthwise. One of you on most British roads, because of the width of the roads, one of you is kind of going to be having to be riding almost on the curb and one almost on that central white line. And I think either of those is not a great place to be. And obviously, as roads sort of narrow and widen, and particularly the country roads, that is a bit of something we need to be really mindful of. The graphic in the middle is if you done a single stretched out row of 6 with that 2 meter spacing in between, and you can see the length and of that. So that's almost like the length of 4 spaced out cars. So you imagine if other traffic wants to pass you, that does make it a little bit more challenging there. So again, just something to be aware of. And then we looked at what about if you've done it a bit staggered so that you don't have to ride the center line or the curb. Now that is a little bit better, I guess, but you still got that 3 meter distance. And I think one of the things to be wary of, other road users won't understand why we're being spaced out that much, and you can just imagine some of the abuse that might be thrown our way. Oh, you're taking up the whole road, what are you doing, and so on and so forth. So that's the sort of thing we needed to consider. So our view at the moment on that is we don't feel comfortable that we can put rides on and feel that our riders are safe, and it's something perhaps that we can sort of delay just for a bit longer. Yesterday, we heard from the government guidance about a reduction in that 2 meter rule. We've heard nothing from British Cycling yet. So as we do, we will go back and reflect on that decision, and then we'll come back and have a rethink. So the next bit we looked at, just one second, there we go, was the ride leader views. So we did ask at the ride leaders, how many would want to ride, and out of the ride leaders, 9 said they would be comfortable leading, but the majority said no, it just doesn't feel right just yet. There's extra responsibility I'm not comfortable with dealing with right now with regards to social distancing, and some were happy to take out 4 but not 6, for example. So not a lot of ride leaders would be willing at the moment to lead rides. So our views again on this as a committee is we absolutely, without doubt, respect the views of our ride leaders and their choice whether to lead or not. These guys are volunteers, and we have to go with what they feel safe to do in this situation, and we are absolutely not in a place where we want to pressurize anyone into leading any rides until they are ready to do so. So we wanted to make that really clear, and so because of the availability, I guess, of trying to get on some rides, it's going to be really difficult should we put those rides on. Looking at a 6 limit of rider and very few going out, it would be very, very difficult to actually get a place on those rides. So that's kind of another viewpoint we were looking at. Then we looked at the health and safety side of things. Now, some of the guidance here comes from the British cycling advice, but also I've also double checked it through on the HSE guidance as well. But face masks, as a point of note here, really, you don't have to wear a face mask whilst you're on a group ride. However, you are able to wear one should you want to, as long as it doesn't impact your breathing. So if you're going out with others, then that's something to be mindful of. There is a bit though, if you have an accident and you need to be treated, it recommends that you carry your own face mask, so at least you can put that on yourself should you be able to keep yourself a little bit safer if someone does need to administer first aid for you. So that in itself becomes a real issue, because the guidance says you need, if you're trying to do first aid, you have to ask the rider that's injured to apply that on themselves without getting within the 2-meter distance. But obviously if there's a more serious one, then it also says you need to wear, you know, gloves and a mask before you administer any first aid. So again, more challenges there for fellow riders or ride leaders to deal with a situation in the case of an accident. A point of note really about gloves as well. Yeah, there's no requirement to wear gloves, but it does recommend obviously washing your hands before and afterwards. And also you can't share any equipment. So, you know, if someone has a puncture, you can't share pumps, inner tubes, you can't help them out, touch their stuff, their bike, for example, can't share food and drink. So again, more challenging, that makes it the decision not as straightforward. And then the bit about the hygiene protocols is really this line here about coughing, sneezing into a tissue where you can, but obviously everyone knows who rides that it's not that easy to try and reach in to find a tissue before the sneeze comes out, for example. So they're saying you can sort of cough or sneeze into the cusp of your elbow, but absolutely, I mean, this is, you know, it is the one really, but no spitting or I put there snot rockets. I don't know what the official term is, that's what I know it is, but hopefully you'll know what I mean by a snot rocket. So yeah, again, so our view there really is we don't, you know, we find it really difficult to enforce more extra pressure on ride leaders to have to deal with all that as well, albeit that the riders would have to take a lot of responsibility should they choose to ride anyway. Okay, that said, the guidance does say you can ride up to 6, and we didn't want to say, you know, that you can't do that. And we already know that some people already started up what we call bubble groups. So, you know, a group of riders up to 6 have been getting together and trying out what it's like to ride in a group of 6. And some of the feedback from there is, again, you know, because of the spaced out distances, they are getting some abuse of drivers, something to be mindful of there, of course. And actually the reason they're doing that as well is because it's people they know and trust, etc. as well. So what we're kind of looking at is providing you're following the correct British British cycling guidance there. We're suggesting if you are looking for a companion to ride with, or you can offer a place for someone else, that you can use our Facebook forum to actually ask for that. They won't be official BCG rides. It's something that you'll be creating yourselves as riders, and as such it wouldn't be covered under the BCG insurance, so recommend you get your own insurance looked into if you was going to do that. So to summarize all of that, our committee decision at the moment is we're not ready to start the group riding again yet, for all the reasons I've just been through. However, we will continue to follow the guidance and keep reviewing this decision as that guidance changes. British Cycling have said this is stage 3 of a stage 6 program to get back to normal, so there's still more steps to come yet. However, we are happy for riders to use the Facebook forum should they want to request or find someone else to ride with until we get our official rides back up and running. Okay, so hopefully you may well have lots of questions on that, so hopefully I've given enough to give a good view of what we've had to think about before coming to that decision, but feel free to obviously ask the questions as you need to. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Gary now to talk about the current committee roles.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you very much. I just wanted to reiterate there as well that, like I said, every decision we make, of course, we meet and we discuss and we put a lot of thought and effort in, and And the most important thing is we consult you guys, the leaders, the volunteers, to make sure you're happy as well. So we'll continue review, and I'd love this club to be open tomorrow, but at the end of the day, your safety and the safety of all our volunteers and all the riders is paramount, and we'll continue review, and we'll open this club when it's ready to be opened, when everyone feels it's ready to be opened. And like I said, the bubble group, I've been riding in a bubble group myself. I've been going out with some friends that I know and trust, and I feel safe riding with. I recommend you find someone that you do find, if you want to go outside, you find someone you feel comfortable with, where you can trust them. And of course, you have to take on board that traffic will be the cars are moving faster. Maybe because the roads are quieter, but in actual fact they don't feel quieter, and you will get a little bit more abuse, unfortunately, as I've been finding. But please stay safe out there. If you do decide to go out, please stay safe. Anyway, okay, so moving on to our committee roles. Firstly, I'd really like to, if we could take a step back. Sorry, Rick, you've jumped.
Yeah, sorry, I've got it mixed up. Sorry, carry it. Yeah, I'll flick between.
Okay, all right, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank Emma Small, who was our social secretary, Lynn Jago, who was our club captain, for all the work they did last year. They've decided to step down due to personal circumstances and commitments and other things. They've done a fantastic job. It's really been a pleasure having them on board. I know Emma did an amazing job with all the pub nights and the social nights and the Christmas do. I know that venue we did last year was all down to her, and it was an amazing venue. Thank you to Lynn for all your hard work you put in, all the suggestions and comments, and getting involved with all the the lower groups and the higher groups, and amazing job from both of you. This of course has opened up an opportunity for 2 more roles. However, we also had a third role that we've always been wanting. Poor old Rick has been combining about 4 roles, and myself has been combining a few roles to try and tick this group over. So basically one of the big things we kind of do together is we introduce new riders. We get the emails from new riders that are interested in joining the group. We get information on board. We get Facebook contacts about people wanting to join. And then we follow up with them and try and encourage them to come out with the group. But of course, we can't give full time to that, and because of the other commitments we have. So we needed another role to open up, which was our membership secretary, which a lot of other clubs have. And so we had 3 roles going that we sent out. We co-opted in. Because there was only 1 applicant at the time that this voting was sent out in the papers. And we had 3 people come forward. Those roles have all been filled through a co-op, and so they're now in a 2-year term with the committee. So I'd like to welcome Warren Preen. He was foremount in arranging the virtual riding and the virtual sporty. Everyone knows Warren. He's a regular rider with the B+ and A's, and amazing guy to know, and I'm sure he'll work with Fran to do a fantastic job to carry on the captain's awards, and I know he has lots of good ideas. So welcoming Warren into the 2nd group captain role. I'd then like to welcome Lizzie Archer. Lizzie, again, very popular in the group. Everyone knows Lizzie. She will be our membership secretary, which is combining some of the roles of group captain, where she will be working more with our beginner riders and our intro riders and people new into the group, and encouraging new riders, encouraging people that sign up to Facebook. You can see we have 1,200 people signed up to Facebook. We have 560 people on Meetup. Why aren't they coming out for rides? So Lizzie will be paramount in getting more of those people riding with the group and involved with the group, and finding out the sticking points of why they're not riding with us. So very, very pleased to have Lizzie on board as well. And then we have Chris Shirley. Chris, everyone knows Chris again. So very popular people in that group, and I'm sure you all welcome Chris as a social secretary. He did a fantastic job on the quiz night that we had on the virtual tour, and he's always not shy of finding a pub or 2. So I'd like you to welcome Chris. And also, Chris is going to form a working group, because trying to arrange social events, especially when the pub's all back open and we start socially outside, is it takes a lot for 400 of you to be able to organise into events. So Ben Ruffett is going to be joining Chris, and I also had another volunteer today come forward. We just need to further that. But anyone else that's interested in helping Chris, or helping any of us, if there's something you're passionate about, marketing, app development, you could always do an Android app. If anyone else is interested in helping in any shape and form, please come forward. We could always do with the volunteers and help us make the club even better. So welcoming all these guys on board. So next slide, please. Please, Fran. Please, Rick. Sorry. There we go. So yeah, so this is just covering those. So of course, Ben Ruffett will be supporting Chris there. So welcome to our volunteers coming forward. Okay, next slide. So over to you, Rick.
Yep, cool. Okay, just 1 second. Click a couple buttons. Here we go. There we go. Right, so yes, just wanted to cover off the sponsors and charity. Just it's basically some of the things that as members that is useful for you to know. So this year, as we've mentioned previously in further announcements, was Trek and Caldwell have renewed their sponsorship with us. So we've got those two on board as our main sponsors this year. And the two chosen charities this year are the Magpass Air Ambulance and the MK Food Bank. And already, as we mentioned earlier, about we've raised a hell of a lot of money for those two charities, and we're only in June, nearly July. So it's a great partnership we've got up and running with those two already. Also, as members, there's a whole bunch of different discounts that we've managed to negotiate on your behalf for here. Won't go through all of those, but they always get updated as new offers come through. So do check the website. Our website is where you can find all the latest information, but some of these on here are discounts at various, mainly our two key sponsors there at the top, but also there's discounts at other cycle stores, some Body Limits, Bodyline, the coffee shops, pizza places, Velomotion and the Leisure Centre, Talking Gears, MK Tasty, etc., all with various different discounts there. So this year we didn't, as a way of saving some of the cost that we need to this year, we are not sending out actual membership cards. So if you do need to show your card, use your virtual one. And how you get that is you go onto the website, click on your profile picture, just scroll down a bit and it says membership card. Click on there and you'll be able to show that to any of those places. Or if you prefer, you can print that off and take it in instead. So again, some great stuff there for you as members. Okay, Gary.
Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, you need to make me live.
1 second. 1 second.
Okay,
there we go.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rick. So I was trying to answer, quickly typing away, trying to answer all the questions that are coming in. One of the questions from Chris Shirley said, "I'm sure Fran has a deal with the devil." Looking at that picture, yes, I very much agree. Okay, so new leisure wear. Okay, so basically, all of you are aware that we released a new kit. Fantastic response to the kit. Everyone was really pleased with how it looked and felt. This is the first time we've moved away from our previous supplier, and we decided to move to someone who was local in this country. It was manufacturing. We could get it quicker turnaround, and we just, we wanted to increase in the quality and so forth. So we decided to go with Godfrey Sports. As you know, there's been some delays in the first order, as have been expected because of the COVID situation. We actually had the kit night the day before lockdown, or 2 days before lockdown. So we were lucky to actually get that kit night in. Many of you tried on kit, and many of you, we had probably quite a few orders come in. And Malcolm Murray was our volunteer that took that forward. So if you've got any issues or any problems, please, first of all, try and go through to Godfrey, but of course CC in Malcolm. Malcolm will try and help as best as he can. He's been fantastic and a great support on that. Godfrey have been manufacturing PPE for the NHS and key workers, so a big hand to Godfrey for doing that. And so of course they've moved their production line to do that temporarily while the pandemic was at its highest, and they're now moving back to doing the order again. So once everything's quietened down, we'd like to open the portal again, maybe just in time to get some kit just before the season ends, hopefully. So Malcolm will be promoting that whenever the window does open. Okay, so I'll hand you back over to Rick, who will cover our road safety campaign.
Okay. There we go. Okay, yeah, so I mentioned earlier on that the road safety campaign has been progressing well this year, and you know, certainly last year as well, we got really into it as well. So just to recap on some of the points, hopefully a lot of you have subscribed to the Facebook channel and the social media channels that we've got up and running to get the updates as they come through. However, there's three main awareness campaign things that we're actually going for at the moment. When the first one there is, give cyclists 1.5 meters when passing. That's kind of the number one thing that we want to try and promote. And then the second one is riding two abreast is safest. This was kind of before the COVID situation, so I just sort of point out there it might not be the best thing to do right now at this moment in time, but that's what we're looking at doing there for you. And the third one is really about share. All road users have equal rights on the road as well. So there were the three main focuses initially that we were going after on the campaign. So the whole purpose really is to promote cycling safety on the roads and encouraging more people to get out on their bikes and ride. And we've been fortunate enough to get the support of MK Council, Thames Valley Police and Bedfordshire Police as well. So they're supportive of our campaign moving forward. And we've been building up a social media presence at the moment as well. And some of our videos are hitting great numbers that we're publishing now, and as the more people are sharing our campaign, the wider out it's getting. So progress so far, you may have seen some of this already, but we've created our branding now, and that's all been signed off. The social media presence is up and running. We've created at least 6 information video clips now. You might have seen those as well. They're gaining a good reach out and widespread network, not just in Milton Keynes, but actually they're getting further afield as well. And just very recently, Anne was done a super job. She hooked up with the Thames Valley Police and they done a cycle safety video. You might have seen, if been following our forum, you would probably seen the link to that just probably a week or so ago. Again, another great message there, because when we're trying to do our campaign and we have the support of the police back in that campaign with us, it does add an awful lot of weight to it. And the other thing we're doing there is kind of the promotional materials. We've created some of those. So this year we were planning to get out to events, local fetes, and basically go and talk to people in the places where we ride. So as we know, most of tend to ride out in the country and go through small villages, and that kind of would be the sort of the target audience we'd be looking at to talk about cycle safety. And also the bit we're working on at the moment is our marketing campaign. We're trying to think, how do we market this in the correct way, and what more can we do around that to really give this the oomph behind it. So that's kind of the thing that's happening in share. We've still got a long way to go with it, but we've made a really, really great start. But we're also after help and support. We just need a few more bodies to share some thinking. I don't know if you've got skills around sort of marketing, or you're really passionate about this sort of thing. Please get in touch with Anne or send a message through to the website, and we can see if we can get you involved in that as well. It will mean kind of getting a bit more involved and doing a bit of work as well, but please, if you can offer any support on this one, it would really be helpful to us. So a really super campaign. We've got up and running, we're getting good reach so far, and we just now want to build on that through the rest of this year where we can. Okay, thank you. So we're moving on now. We kind of finished the presentation now for tonight, and we've just got some time in on here to go through any of the questions that may have been asked. So Gary, we've got any that we want to pick up and cover? Can you see those?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I don't know if you can hear both of us together. I think it's whoever's live, isn't it? So if I tell you the question and then, do you want me to read through the questions? Do you want to make me live and I'll read through them?
Yeah, okay, just 1 second. Let's make you live if you can see those. Here we go, and live.
So there's been quite a few feedback about the decisions about group riding, and many of you have been, well, all of you have been supportive of our decisions, which is great. Thank you. And a few of you asked, I presume we'll be reviewing that continually. And as I reiterated, yes, every week when British Cycling, they're usually British Cycling a few days, if not a week behind the government, and then the government, we're just a few more days behind that way. We review, we process, we reach out to all the volunteers and make sure they're on board before any decisions are made. So yeah, we'll continue review. Of course, I want to get this club, and Rick wants to get his club running back as soon as we can, but in safe when it's safe to do so. And Peter Tull posted, am I okay posting photos on Facebook after an ad hoc experience? I've refrained from doing this to now, not sure why it's sending the right message. Yes, that's fine. Others have been doing that, and you saw there was the 200 last weekend, people post it. All I will ask is it follows the BCG guidance and guidelines. So, you know, no swearing, no pictures of people urinating. That would be fantastic.
Safe distance.
Yeah, that's fine. Just please make sure they follow also the government guidelines. So no hugging and photos of you being very close or so forth. So yeah, encouraging people to get out in this beautiful weather, riding safely within the guidelines is perfect. Thank you, Peter. There's got a few more questions just coming in. Anne seems to not know who she is because she's coming up as anonymous. I have no idea why you're coming up as anonymous, Anne. Chris, when will the next kit orders be placed? I'll follow up with Malcolm. I've made a note here to follow up with Malcolm. He was going to touch base with Godfrey and see how they're coming along. I still believe they're manufacturing PPE while trying to finish off the orders from last time. So I'll find out where that's going. And then we can open the kit orders and begin that again. So I'll reach out to Malcolm straight after this call. Are you still honouring the discount for those who still paid the subs early? Unfortunately not. So when we released the free membership and we refunded everyone's money, unfortunately we had to prevent that and stop the discount that we originally offered, because of course we couldn't be giving refunds and then getting to negative equity from the discounts as well. So really the discount was originally based, and that's if this COVID issue hadn't happened, you would have seen that we would actually given away a similar amount as memberships anyway. Our goal this year was to give back to our members. We're a non-for-profit organisation. We don't want to make money. We just want enough to be able to do the events and support our members. So this year we were going to give free membership back, and to not depreciate membership, we wanted to make sure that it was done in a way that would encourage people to buy the kit and also encourage people and reward people for their loyalty to the club. But unfortunately, because of the refund of the membership, we can no longer honour that. So I hope you guys understand that. So that's that question there. Lizzie, where did you get your wall hangers from? I got a stack about 5 bikes in the spare room. These are amazing, actually. I've got 2 here. I don't know if you see. And there's another one. My track bike is just below it there. This is actually my office. My wife would only allow me. I've got so many bikes. The garage is now overflowing, and now they're in the house. So my wife was only allowed me to keep them in the house as if it stays in my office. So these are from Aldi. They're £30 per rack. which is amazing. They're really sturdy and really they don't make any marks. They don't have any holes in the wall. They use suckers to go to the wall to the floor. Really highly recommend. I'll send the link out if you want, Lizzie. Okay, moving on. I've got someone here that says I'm happy to help with the share campaign. So it's coming up as anonymous. So if you could include your name. So if you're coming up as anonymous, if you could include your name, and then I'll of course pass your details on to Anne and Rick and the team. So if you're happy to help with the share campaign, that's absolutely awesome. I'm sure Anne will be chuffed to have more people on board. So if you just send me your name and details on this messenger, as it's currently coming up as anonymous. Adam said, can hear both of you. Brilliant. I thought whoever was live was the only person that could be heard, so that's fantastic. You can hear both of us, so at least we know. Perhaps cool. You can only see the webcam of whoever's live. And Julie said we can hear both of you as well. Thank you, Julie. Refund, and Adam said refund situation completely understood and supported here. Thank you for your support, guys. So just any more questions, please post them in. I'll give it a few more seconds for any more questions to come in. You can of course email us or message myself and Rick anytime. Any questions, please just message me or Rick, and we'll always respond. We will be releasing this as a video afterwards, like I said, and also releasing the slides. So hopefully you can watch us on a Friday night with your wife or husband and a glass of wine. Great entertainment. I'm sure it'll be on Netflix in next to no time. Okay, all right, no more questions coming in. So if you can move on to the final slide.
Okay, you want?
Brilliant. Okay, so this is really to say thank you. This club wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all the volunteers. Like I said, Rick and I started this, talking nearly 8 years ago now, when we were just, and we didn't expect it to get to this stage at all. We didn't expect it to get to 400 members and even holding an AGM, but it is where it is, and that's because of you guys. Volunteers, we wouldn't have been able to do so many rides. We wouldn't be able to do all these category of events. We wouldn't be able to do all the different categories of your riding, and it's amazing. Thank you to the committee. You guys have had to make some difficult decisions recently, and we appreciate your time. I mean, the emergency meetings you have to jump on recently, they've been awesome. At the ride leaders and assistants, you guys, especially now through the winter, you've been riding, you've been putting on, trying to accommodate, you've been listening to all the riders' feedback, and just going above and beyond to make this club even better. I mean, we've had people join you and say, oh my God, it's only £20 a year. What do I pay for it? I said, well, actually, we're all volunteers. You're not paying our salaries at all, but they think we should be paid with the amount of stuff you guys have been doing.
Oh,
and then
agreed.
Yeah.
Joking.
And the category managers, you guys, you've had to make some difficult decisions, especially when the club went down. This is your passion as well, and you guys, again, massive thank you. And of course the riders, the pictures you post, and as Peter said, please post out these pictures. If you're going outside, even in the virtual world, whatever you're doing, it just encourages people, makes them happy. I mean, many people are missing their cycling buddies or missing cycling at all. I've been stuck indoors, seeing four walls. Seeing you guys, especially over that tour weekend, seeing some of those photos, it really made me laugh and smile and encourage me and got me out as well. So yeah, please keep posting those photos, keep your stories coming in. Like I said, if you've got any great stories that you'd like to publish, please send them along. We'll put those up as a blog. So yeah, thank you to all of you. And so I'd like to, unless Rick has anything else to say.
Yeah, just quickly, really, I just would give a view. I think reflections really, we've had a terrific another year. Last year we made an awesome start in difficult situations this year. I'm just, Gary and I, when we first started this with a group, Renee, was never in our wildest dreams thought the club would have risen to the greatness as what it is today. And it makes me really proud that all you guys have kind of come on board with us to help build that up to what the club is today. So I'm really grateful for you for your support. for your volunteering, and hopefully being able together to create this awesome club for you that you're able to join and continue to ride with. And obviously, as we come out of COVID, we can try and get back to where we were before with the group rides, etc. But I think one of the stats that really kind of stood out there was just the amount of rides we were able to put on last year, averaging 100 ride events every month throughout the summer, and then that went down to 70 throughout the winter. That's incredible for any bike club. So it just makes me feel immensely proud, and I'd just like to thank everybody for being part of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rick. And so I'd like to bring this to a close. Dot on 8 or 1 minute past. John Campbell, you can go and enjoy your ride now. I know you're buzzing to get outdoors. So have a good night and thank you very much. Oh, and also happy birthday to Matt Sherratt, who I know is listening with a glass of Prosecco in his hand. So happy birthday,
Matt.
Yeah. Right. Good night,
everybody.
Good night. Bye.